Let's talk about sales cycles, shall we? Because one of the most frequently asked questions by almost every prospect is this: how long do you think is a usual sales cycle for a B2B lead? Now, when we are thinking about it, there are a few factors that you need to consider that I'll be taking you through in this video. But before we get started, let's have an introduction, shall we? So, as you know, I am Saranya Narayana Moorthy. I run two companies, the Content Bot, which is an end-to-end marketing agency, and Lion Digital, which is a highly specialized B2B sales company wherein we focus on everything but just B2B sales, right from setting up your customer personas, helping you for lead generation, setting up your sales team, training your sales team, creating sales funnels for you, ensuring your nurture is pitch on so that you finally close deals. So everything from the lead generation until sales closures is taken care of by Lion Digital, and that is a company that I'm super proud to build. So with this, let's get started. So when we look at the size of deals and the types of deal, generally the sales cycle depend on two things. One is the size of the deal, which means the larger the size, it needs more people to sign it off. Secondly, the complexity of it, which means the number of stakeholders who are involved in decision making. So let's say the deals that are smaller in size, the ones that the decision maker whom you are speaking to himself has the authority to sign would have a smaller sales cycles. But that doesn't mean very smaller sales cycles. It can range anywhere between a week until a maximum of 45 to 50 days. So these are small size, let's say SaaS products or technical equipment that the team would need to work. So these are the deals that have lower time involved because the deal size is smaller. Secondly, if we speak about medium sized deals, now this is where more than one person needs to sign it off, which would mean the person whom you're talking to plus his manager or his boss. So this will take from a starting space at least 2 weeks until 3 months to sign off on this, because generally when two people are involved, first you need to convince person one and then also person two. So this takes a little bit a longer time. Now when we speak about enterprise deals, this is where you need the entire board of directors to sign off on this. Now these types of deals, because of their high complexities, take anywhere from a minimum of 2 months until 6 to 8 months, and sometimes even 1 year to sign off on. So these kinds of deals generally have a lengthier sales cycle. Now, is pricing the only factor? Not really. Complexity is another main thing. So complexity is where, let's say you are speaking about a tech product that focuses just on the IT wing of the company. In that case, this deal needs clearance just from the IT wing of the company, right? So only their internal members need to sign off on it. So these are deals with lower complexity. So this again falls under a lower sales cycle depending on the value of the deal. Second is medium complexity. Now, this is where more than one department is involved. Now, when more than one department are involved, two departments need to come together, collaborate, and then sign off on it. This will have a relatively higher sales cycle. Finally, when you take the highly complex deal, which will involve you restructuring their organization or changing something in a higher level, this will need a much higher time to sign off on, because obviously there'll be a lot more people who will be disappointed by this getting implemented than the ones who would support the growth. So these are the deals that will take again a higher sales cycle. Now, this being said, how can you influence it? Or if we break it down, what are the primary factors that contribute to these lengthier sales cycles? Let's have a look at the factors. So when we focus primarily on factors, there are three different factors that I clearly want you to focus on. One is obviously the number of stakeholders involved, but that is determined more by the deal size and the complexity. Hence, let's say that is covered in the first part. The second one is the buyer intent. Now, buyer intent is something that you should certainly pre-qualify on. What is a buyer intent? That means, see, whenever you're pitching a product, there are two bases under which you pitch, right? One is where you think this product can contribute to profound growth within that organization. So you say they have a need and you're pitching the product. So the second category is where they think they have a need and then they come to you. So this is a primary difference between push marketing and pull marketing, or in other words, outbound or inbound. we came to the crux, right? So when you are positioning it, you don't just need to convince them that your product is good, but you also need to convince them that they have a requirement here. So when you put it that way, it takes much longer time for them to understand that yes, this will actually contribute to growth and this is a priority and so we should focus on it. Whereas if on the other way around, they already have an intent to buy and they are coming to you, they know that they have a requirement. So in this case, the sales cycle fast moves relatively faster. So the buying intent plays a very major role when you're pushing the B2B sales process. So this is exactly why I always insist on having a content and a marketing approach wherein you have both inbound and outbound basis so that you're generating demand while at the same time fulfilling it. This ensures that your sales cycles are a lot more shorter. Now, if you want to have more intent on what the sales funnels are or what are the different types of content, do check out this video out there, which will focus more on inbound, outbound, ABM, and different types of sales funnel. That will give you a good clarity. Coming back to a point. So buying intent is something that is extremely important. So another thing that we do for our clients is when we are setting up our sales funnels, we have our own in-house sales funnel, which we set up, which will have a pre-qualifier that qualifies prospect based on whether or not they have an intent to buy. Now you can question, how can you know that, especially without speaking to a prospect? Now that is where digital footprint comes into play. Depending on which organization is looking out for similar softwares or who are looking out or inquiring to similar competitors, Google algorithm handles those digital footprints and it clearly knows who is talking to whom. I mean, that's how your pixels and your ads work, right? Our sales funnel uses the same intelligence to understand which companies have intent so that you can pitch them right. So, if you're looking forward to establish a sales funnel, now is the exact time to drop us an email in this ID and get in touch with us so that we can propel your lead generation. Okay, getting back to teaching you. So, one, like I mentioned, the number of stakeholders involved as a primary factor. Second is buying intent. And the third and the most profound one is the process. How are you getting in touch with them? Is it through a traditional method of tendering or getting through proper portals? Is it through bidding? Because those are longest and systematic process, but the ones that have a clear deadline on when the results will be announced. The second is where they have their vendor RFQs and through that you pass in your requirement. Or the last one is where you have one-to-one discussions. From there you get the requirement and then you put together a deal. So the process that they follow for both procurement, for vendor registration or for fulfillment is another primary reason or a primary factor that will lead to lengthier sales cycle. But this is not something that you can control. So ideally, now if you're looking to, okay, so all of this being said, how do I shorten my sales cycle? Or on the other words, how do I ensure that I get results quicker? How do I ensure that I close leads quicker? Then these are the few things that you should certainly focus on. Now let's look at how you can close deals faster and accomplish all of these in a shorter sales cycle. Firstly, always remember your output starts right from the moment when you start generating leads, which means when you're starting to generate leads, focus on the most effective methods of lead generation. This would look something like already identifying leads with intent, pre-qualifying your leads so that you only target people who already have a requirement, or getting to know clearly whether this decision maker is already interested in speaking to you or is acquiring your product, and it's not just taking a meeting just because you asked to. So always pre-qualify your lead with intent so that it makes a process smoother for you and ensure that you're not spending time just for the sake of it. Second, have a streamlined communication. Ensure that you have clarity right from the first conversation that you do. Do not pitch product A in the first call and then product B, and then just don't be hazy about your pitch. Keep your pitch consistent. If the needs evolve, then that's a different story. But I've seen many companies pitch one thing at one point in time and then they pitch a completely different thing. Do not do that. Keep your lead flow completely consistent. This will ensure that they have their eyes on the goal and you have to. Now, once after you know this is a clear communication and this is the intent and your communication is clear, ensure to nurture them. So this is where your polarization comes into play, wherein you won't just do just direct pitches or direct follow-ups, but you also indirectly conduct webinar sessions or post content or create videos like this that when a prospect sees would be more interested to work with you. So these are factors that develops trust, plus at the same time increases their interest to work with you. So this will ideally give you a better result wherein you are able to connect with your clients better and thereby generating better business out of them. And finally, and most importantly, have a relationship based communication with your client. That is strictly transactional. Now, what I mean by this is mostly B2B sales relies on how much the other person trusts you and how well they think they can connect with you. But that being said, spending too much time into bonding or spending too much time in creating what we call an illusionary friendship just for the sake of closing a deal is definitely not recommended. So, if you think you have a genuine bond with a person, cherish it. If not, keep things just transactional. Don't try to butter it up or don't try to create this illusionary friendship just because you want to crack it. Trust me, it never goes well in a long run. So be as authentic as you can and keep your intentions clear. Trust me, no prospect will ever say no to a good deal just because you're not their friend. Ultimately, everything boils down to business. Of course, friendship helps you to get leads, but that is not the source of your lead. So don't keep that as your marketing strategy for sure. That is also unethical, and trust me, it wouldn't end well for you. So keep all these concepts in mind. Ideally, understand that ultimately it's a human to human interaction, and how well you present your solutions and how well you ensure you create the customer journey map right from in creating interest in them until getting them to understand you, getting them to trust you, and finally getting them to close with you. How you craft that journey, because your customer journey plays a very clear map on how quickly you close your deal. So if you're looking forward to learn more about B2B sales, or if you're looking forward to propel your B2B lead generation journey, ensure to follow this YouTube channel and connect with me on LinkedIn at Saranya Narayana Moorthy, on Instagram at B2B Sales Doctor. So with that being said, if you're looking forward to hire a consultant or get a trainer to ensure your sales team works well and to generate lead consistently, do drop an email at this email ID and connect with us on the social media platform. So with that being said, farewell for now and let's close some deals.